one.
You don't really understand sometimes what a terrible burden it is to know some of the things that I know. And try to wake people up and impart this knowledge to them. And find out that they just have walls built in front of them. They want to be slaves.
Now, I risk sounding like a conspiracy theorist, but it's no longer a theory. What I'm about to say is fact. The secret organizations of the world power elite are no longer secret. They have planned and are now leading us into a one-world communist government.
ODD TV. Take a journey with me deep inside the rabbit hole. Wake up, my friends, there's some things that you have to know. Everything you ever thought you knew, it has to go. For instance, NASA is the world's largest magic show. 9/11 was a planned demolition and Sandy Hook was a scam. Come on, man, are you tripping? Constant programming being crammed in your vision. Just take a step back and examine this prison. Turn on the news and they're trying to blind you. All they ever do is tell you lies and divide you. There's nowhere you can even hide, they'll find you. Illuminati all-seeing eye right behind you. It's about time you find out we're being lied to. They're attempting to control the mind that's inside you. Hide you from the power that designed you. Does anybody have a problem with this? Well, I do. I want the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. They say they got it, but they're never coming up with proof. If you looking, then they got you jumping through these hoops. The lies always continuing to rise and busting through the roof. I want the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. They say they got it, but they're never coming up with proof. If you're looking, then they got you jumping through these hoops. The lies always continuing to rise and busting through the roof. They're lying to us about everything. How can this be? I know I'm not crazy, and yet I'm questioning my sanity. I see what the Illuminati's doing to humanity. The truth is stranger than fiction. We're living in a fantasy. What I'm witnessing is unreal. It's a one-way battle for us cattle going uphill. If we don't stand and fight now, then no one will. Our children will never know freedom. It's a done deal. The future's not looking so promising. It's the poor who go to war while the rich keep on profiting. It's us that they're slaughtering and money that they're honoring. And soon it's gonna be the new world order that they're offering. It's mind-boggling how so many don't seem aware. And if they are, it's like they really just don't even care. Our world is broken and I'm hoping it can be repaired. But we'll have to fight for it, so just be prepared. I want the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. They say they got it, but they're never coming up with proof. If you're looking, then they got you jumping through these hoops. The lies always continuing to rise and busting through the roof. I want the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. They say they got it, but they're never coming up with proof. If you're looking, then they got you jumping through these hoops. The lies always continuing to rise and busting through the roof.
Forget the politicians. Politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice. You don't. You have no choice. You have owners. And they own all the big media companies, so they control just about all of the news and information you get to hear. They got you by the balls. They don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking.
Welcome to a 5-part seminar. This is the final part of the Interpreting Revelations seminar, discovering the rise and fall of the New World Order. We're going to talk about Alexander the Great in light of Bible prophecy, basically. I think that Alexander the Great is his bloodline will ultimately lead to the Antichrist. I have a lot of slides. I don't know how many we'll get into, though. You have anything particular you want to say as an introduction, Iger? Or you want to show anything?
My man, it's like if it's our final time talking about the end times, which I doubt it's gonna be, but since you
Well, for
titled
this
it
series, yeah.
for the Alexander the Great stuff, I want to say that I think it was the first book of Maccabees, which is like an apocryphal book. Somebody told me that it talked about Alexander the Great in there. It doesn't talk much about him because I remember kind of reading it. It just kind of says he was the leader at a time at a certain time or whatever. And then yeah, I came across one article I was reading earlier um about how when he went to invade Israel, a guy that was there supposedly was trying to read the prophecy to him about how he was going to be the greatest leader or whatnot. But I'll go in. I can pull up the article and maybe read it a little bit later. But yeah, man. Yeah, we'll wait till you're done with the Alexander presentation, then we can get into the some newer order end time stuff. I kind of want to read Revelation 6 later in the show. And
Let me. I gotta search this word up in a concordance real quick, and then find the verse. There's a verse that talks about uh, this new world order. You have the great whore, but then she's replaced by this other whore. It's like a mystery, Babylon. I can't remember the exact terms, but let's see.
Mystery Babylon.
Mystery Babylon the Great. But it mentions the Great. That's actually a reference to Alexander the Great. But look at it. It says in Revelation 17:5, upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. So there's also a beast in the book of Revelation that comes up, out of the oceans with the 10 heads, and it says that has a description of the beast, which is the bear's feet, and it has the what I'm gonna butcher it if I don't look it up, so because I'm not recalling the details of the beast. Let me look this up real quick.
Ooh, I've seen a couple images of like something that appears to kind of resemble that. There was like a statue they put in front of the United Nations in New York, I think, that kind of looked like a creepy beast with like different body animal parts put to it. I don't know if I showed you that before. And I want to say it's like one of the royal families has some type of weird crest with a weird beast that has a bunch of different body parts on it too. Yeah.
All right, so Revelation 13:2, the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. So the Antichrist, his government, but notice that it's a beast, okay, represented by a beast, which is a leopard. So it has the body and the legs, of a leopard, the feet of a bear. Now you go back to the symbolism in the book of Daniel. When it talks about a leopard, it's talking about the Grecian Empire, and it talked about a great king, which I got some slides for those, but it has the body of a leopard, the feet of a bear, and the mouth of a lion. So it's the bear in the book of Daniel is represented by the Persian Empire, which the Grecian Empire replaced. Okay, they conquered the Persian Empire. So but it said about the bear, about the Persian Empire in the book of Daniel, that it was going to devour much flesh. That's why it has the 3 ribs in its mouth, and that's probably symbolic of some like really great politicians or whatever that kind of split up at the time that the empire fell. But the point is that it devours much less. The feet of a bear is like uh, a great paw, with the giant claws. And so not only is this animal fast, because the leopard is like among the fastest, probably the fastest, like cheetah is in the leopard family, I'm pretty sure. So it's very quick and also has very strong, claws, which it can rip and devour and tear to pieces and destroy anything that it wants. Has the teeth of a lion, which is represented in the book of Daniel by that fourth beast, the great teeth like a dragon. And so the dragon, Satan himself, gives him this authority, but it says Mystery Babylon the Great. So you see the leopard body, and then you see Mystery Babylon the Great, and then you see the great king of Grecia in the book of Daniel. I'll share my screen now, but these are all symbolic of the Antichrist and the New World Order's connection.
Can I share my screen real quick? I want to show you this statue of they put in front of the United Nations real quick.
All right.
I don't know if you can see it, but I just put the beast in front of the United Nations, and doesn't really have a good angle of the feet here, but it's got the mouth of a lion there. Hold on, let me see if I get any better pictures. Nah, it's the same.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. It's got 4 wings in the book of Daniel, but it doesn't have any in the New Testament, or in the book of Revelations. It just has the leopard body, the lion teeth, and the feet of a bear. So it's a combination of all of the world empires that existed in the past. The teeth of a lion
in front of the United Nations.
The lion is the king of Babylon, so that's why you have the head of a lion, basically, the body of the Grecian Empire, the feet of the Persian Empire, and so it's a collection. It's a culmination. This world empire has been maturing throughout history, and it will reach its peak when the Antichrist takes control. This is at the United Nations. You said this statue or whatever.
Yeah, in New York, and their headquarters in New York. Maybe I can get more better like that.
Well, that's because they are, that's an Easter egg for the people who are awake for us, telling us, that they're going to take control.
There's one more time I've seen a similar creature, bro, and it's in like royal coat of arms of the United Kingdom. So before you carry your presentation, since we're talking about the beast, I just want to share that too. But again, these kingdoms are all coming together now, right? So we kind of see how these beasts has been conglomerated through the United Nations and other organizations like that. But look at this animal here on the right. It's got the mouth of a lion, the body of a leopard, kind of, and then the feet of a bear. But the more impressive one for me right now is that statue they just put up. I want to say they put it up like a year or two ago, in front of the world, the United Nations. All right, bro. I know you want to share your screen and you continue your presentation.
That's scary because they show us these signs, that they have these plans that what the Bible says is going to come to pass. They're secretly showing this to people who understand the Bible, to the Christians, because they want us to know that they're going to kill us one day. They have a plan to annihilate us, and they're not ashamed to show it. They won't do it very, like we understand that this is obviously the beast in the book of Revelation, and the normal people could say that this is like a conspiracy. The science community, they're like, well, that's just,
it's a beautiful work of art.
Yeah. So they could say what they want. But
Just like when all the artists dress up like Satan, it would be like, there's Satan in the music industry. They're like, nah, it's just they're artists. They're just expressing themselves. I'm like, they're literally dressed up like the devil, telling you to worship Satan. It's just for
yeah,
artistic impression. Wake up, wake up. All right, go ahead, bro.
yeah. So it's pretty in your face. That's scary, but they're not too open about it. You know, it's not like they're just going to come out and say that we work for the Illuminati, because nobody's going to go for that. But they will slowly and gradually take control, and things like this will be overlooked by the common person. But they like to show them, you know, so that we can see it and understand, you know, because they want to brag about it in some way. This is the closest thing they get without coming forward and saying that we serve Satan. You know, they're going to do stuff like this because you want to represent what you believe and you want to be proud of it and you want to proclaim it. But if you're a part of a cult, which you can't exactly come forward with openly, well, then you want to find other ways which you can show, you know, you can express that culture. So that's one of the ways they do it, by symbols, by designing their streets in the form of a pentagram, you know, weird stuff like that. This is what wicked people do, wicked people that are part of cults. They do their secret handshakes and this. They have their idols, and that's what happens. All right, I'll share the screen now, and then over a couple of things. Let's see, Darius the Mede. Just the empire. Says in Daniel 5:31 that he took the kingdom about 60, which is 60, and 2 years old. That is historically accurate, even though it is a little difficult to prove it archaeologically. Every historical record differs on the fall of Babylon. You know, it's nothing in the Bible has been disproven by archaeology. So it's very interesting to find the things that confirm biblical history, and other things like this get a little bit complicated, but you can still see that it coincides with what the Bible says. So Nabonidus, according to the historical records that are non-biblical historical records that talk about the fall of the kingdom of Babylon by Cyrus the Great, says that Nabonidus ran to the capital to hide after suffering a brutal loss to Cyrus the Great outside the capital, and Babylon was taken by surprise in the absence of Nabonidus in another record. So you really don't know what's going on when you look at this event a lot of the times. But the theory is that the capital was taken forcefully before the arrival of Cyrus, and before Cyrus left, he placed Darius the Mede over Babylon, and Nabonidus arrived after Cyrus and was spared by exile. So what happens is Cyrus isn't actually physically there. He sends someone else, and that's Darius the Mede. Says that Belshazzar, this is again non-biblical historical records, he was left in charge during the king's absence, and then there was a ruler over the whole realm of Babylon placed by Cyrus before he left, named Gaburu. So there's one guy who's just Belshazzar. This is the son of the king of Babylon. Okay, so he's taking charge, and then Cyrus sends this guy to conquer, and then he places this other guy, Gaburu, over the whole realm of Babylon. And I believe that archaeology will one day reveal that this is Darius the Mede that the Bible talks about. He was sent by Cyrus, who arrived on that location at a later date. So, anyways, the Bible is a historical book, and it talks about the kingdom of Persia replacing the kingdom of Babylon. So he took the kingdom of Babylon. It actually happened. It says in Daniel 8:20, the ram which thou sawest having two horns are the kings of Media and Persia. So you got a ram represented by Persia. This is the second world empire that existed. Well, after Babylon. The goat is the king of Grecia. The great horn that was between his eyes is the first king. We have a battle between a goat and a ram. The ram represents Persia. The goat represents Alexander the Great, the king of Greece. Daniel 7:17 talks about 4 beasts, which the Bible interprets 4 kings, which shall arise out of the earth. So each beast represents a different kingdom. If you look at the first beast, the lion, that is Babylon. The leopard with 4 wings, that is, you go to the bear, that's represented by Persia, who conquered Babylon. The leopard is represented by Alexander the Great, the kingdom of Greece, which conquered Persia. And then in the background, you actually have the dragon, which is the New World Order, which means that it's skipping over Rome. That's the most significant part of this, is that if that beast in the background there, that dragon, it's supposed to represent Rome, and maybe it does. Maybe, the Roman Empire will be resurrected. That's a theory. But it goes straight from Greece to the New World Order, basically. Even if Rome, is New World Order, you still have a clear transition from Greece to Rome. And then Rome eventually to the New World Order. Not that I believe that the Antichrist is a Roman. I think that the beast doesn't even represent Rome in this case. It represents the future New World Order. In the vision of let's go to this guy right here. This image, you have the head represented by Babylon, the breast and arms represented by Persia, and then the belly and thighs of brass represented by the Greek Empire, and the legs of iron represented by the Roman Empire. So 4 elements here, which represents world empire. So you'd think that the 4th beast over here, that would represent Rome, but it doesn't, because the legs represent Rome, but what actually represents the New World Order on the image is the feet and toes of iron and clay. So the strength of the Roman Empire is going to continue through the politicians in that area, the military forces. They retain the strength of the Roman Empire. In fact, America probably has the strength of the Roman Empire right now, and that will transfer over to the New World Order. To brief about it, but
yeah, I heard that, like the theory, the Roman Empire, never really fell, became the Vatican, secret societies. It kind of engulfed all the royal families of Europe and America. So yeah, we're kind of like a continuation of the Roman Empire. Everything, the United Nations, the Vatican, they're kind of in league together. They're all just different heads of the same beast per se, where they're all working together to achieve the same goals, which is more power for them and less power for the common folk. And they're all in cahoots together in that regard.
Yeah, it lasted for 1,000 years. And then even after the Ottoman Empire took over the Roman Empire, and they had to go over back to Italy, and eventually they settled over in the UK. But you still have them that have power over the whole world, like all of Europe. They still had power over. Once they were displaced from the Middle East, the papacy took control over all of Europe. Like, it still maintained control over Europe, and eventually with you had the United Kingdom, but they've always had control over Europe. Different people have control over the Middle East now. But the genealogy that will lead to the Antichrist is going to come from the Grecian Empire. There's the leopard, it says in Daniel 7:6, has 4 wings. And it translates that in Daniel 7 as the 4 divisions of Greece. So when Alexander the Great died, his empire was divided. And so 4 kings took control over different regions of the earth. Let me see if I can. I don't have it in slide. But 2 of those are in modern day Turkey. That would be where the Byzantine Empire was located. So then that was replaced by the Ottoman Empire. So I would say that it has to be some kind of European genealogy. Because go back to this. The 4th kingdom shall be strong as iron, for as much as iron breaketh in pieces, so doeth all things, even as iron that breaketh in pieces shall it break in pieces and bruise. So that's why you have the feet of a bear in the book of Revelation. It's a straight transition from the kingdom of Greece to the kingdom of the Antichrist. In between, thousands of years between the fall of Greece, Alexander the Great, and the Antichrist, there's a lineage of kings, okay, that goes probably from the 2 kings that were placed in modern day Turkey. Because if it divided into 4, 2 of them are in Turkey, then that seems to be the capital of wherever these kings are. That the Antichrist will descend from this region of politics. And that's actually Islamic today, all of those nations, because the Ottoman Empire replaced the Byzantine Greek Empire. So it could be that after Rome, went back to Europe, that the genealogy that will lead to the Antichrist continued in the papacy, or it stayed in modern day Turkey, and the Antichrist genealogy is Islamic. So there are 2 options there. I believe that the Islamic option, that's another likely scenario, because the toes, which are clay, they're mixed with the feet, which are iron. Says, whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. So you got 10 toes, which is the 10 kings. The only kings today are Islamic, so you have 10 Islamic kings, theoretically, or 10 European kings, and they're going to have a religion. So they're going to do business with the world, but they're going to separate themselves as a culture, and so that their bloodline is going to be successive. It can lead up to the Antichrist.
Have you heard of something called the 13 Royal Bloodlines?
13 royal bloodlines. Something to do with like over in England, like the UK.
They've been around forever, obviously. Like these kings and queens, they interbreeded and whatever. You can see Trump and Hillary Clinton are like third cousins. Not third cousins. I think they're like 12 cousins or something. So like all these people are in power. A lot of the actors and whatnot that are famous, they all kind of interbreed in a sense. I mean, they have enough diversity in there, but I mean, it goes back a long time. Let me just Google it up, see if it comes up. 13 Royal bloodlines.
So here's what I think. You got the leopard here, and you got the Antichrist here. You have some kind of bloodline that goes from, if you consider that the latter portion of the Roman Empire was in Turkey, that's where the capital of the Roman Empire was until it was displaced by the Ottoman Empire, then that bloodline of Alexander the Great has been there the whole time. It may be going through the papacy, or it could be going through those Islamic kings. I think the genealogy of the Antichrist probably going through the European bloodline rather than the Islamic. But the 10 toes, they're definitely 10 Islamic kings. The genealogy of the Antichrist, I believe, is probably separate. It's of the papacy. Not saying the Pope is going to be the Antichrist, but he's probably the false prophet. And the genealogy of the Antichrist definitely seems to derive from the papacy. He's calling himself the Father. Like all this crazy stuff that the Pope does. Everything that he has is white. And the Antichrist represented as a white horse. The white horse, and the 4 horsemen, the first one is white, and that's the Antichrist, pretending to be Jesus Christ. That's what Antichrist means, in the place of Christ. And who stands in the place of Christ today? The Pope. I mean, that's literally what the Pope means, in the place, the vicar of Christ. So it seems to make sense.
It's on. Hey, you look it up real quick. It's on the CIA website. I'm afraid to click on it. The 13 royal bloodlines.
You want to pull it up?
No, I don't want to click on that. It's like on the CIA website.
Okay.
But if you just Google that, 13 royal bloodlines, it comes up on Google, but it's like the second one down. It's like the CIA website, so they're hip to this stuff.
So his legs are iron, his feet are part of iron and part of clay. The legs of iron. This is the military strength of the Roman Empire. So we know the military strength started with Babylon. It was Persia stronger than them, and then Greece, they're stronger than Persia. Rome ends up being not really stronger than Alexander the Great, because he died before Rome took power over the Grecian Empire, which was divided already at the time that they took control over those regions. So it's not even that Rome is stronger than Alexander the Great. That's stronger than the Grecian Empire, I guess, but nobody has been a greater military leader than Alexander the Great. That's a historical fact. This guy was the greatest military genius to ever exist. And so that's significant. But the iron, this is the strength of the Roman Empire. It continued for nearly 1,000 years, and then had to go back to Italy, eventually over to the UK, the European, what do they call it? And then had to go back to Italy, European Union, with Charlemagne and all the stuff that was going on back in those times. I had slides on that, but I'm not going to bring it up. What would happen if someone is going to be the King of England? Basically, the Pope would crown them. So the two have been working together all throughout history since they had to retreat from Turkey, from Constantinople. The military strength of the Roman Empire now resides within the Islamic nations, because those are the 10 kings. That's one way of looking at it. Other people see it as the Holy Roman Empire, that there's 10 kings within the European Union today that, are these 10 kings. So you could see it from either perspective. I think one makes more sense than the other. But Daniel 7:7, the kings that come out of the Roman Empire in the last days, they're either Islamic nations or they're European kings. But there's no other people in the world that have a total monarchy other than Islamic nations. and the Pope himself, which is extremely significant, I think, because the Pope is technically a king over Italy, over the Vatican. Not Italy, but the Vatican. You know, he is king, and he doesn't use that power, but he will one day, I believe. And then every nation in the that the prophets foretold would be destroyed in the last days today are Islamic. That's also significant. There's definitely going to be some kind of coalition of Islamic nations and the European Union. They're going together. They're going to come together somehow, because you have to have a temple set up in Jerusalem. The only way that is possible is with a very powerful treaty or agreement or alliance with the Islamic nation. Otherwise, it's not even possible to build a temple in that location. It's their second holiest site. So that's not happening. It's a huge religion. Okay, second most dominant religion on the planet right now is Islam. FYI. Other than Catholicism. So there you have with a significance again. The two most dominant religions, Catholics and Islam. See. So that's what I think that is. The Holy Roman Empire, the strength of it was replaced by the Ottoman Empire, developed into the Islamic nations that exist today, which will eventually have the 10 kings. And they're going to destroy America and give the wealth of America into the hands of the Antichrist. Now, the World Trade Centers were destroyed by Islamic nations, you know. The world's tallest building used to be in New York. Now it is over in the United Arab Emirates, where there are currently 10 kings that control that region. You can look that up. That's the world's tallest skyscraper today, located in Dubai, in the United Arab Emirates. It seems like they were trying to make a point. And like we just discussed at the beginning of this presentation, this is how they display their culture. You know, this is how cults operate, is by symbols, by secret signs, you know. And if you're in on it, if you know what they're doing, you can recognize these signs like they do. Okay, so Christians recognize when you put up a statue of a beast that looks just like the one in the book of Revelations, you're obviously declaring to yourselves, y'all who are in on it, that you are a part of the coming New World Order. So that's what they're doing.
Okay, so I clicked on the website, bro, CIA, and it's a 292-page paper or book, maybe. But it says, in mockery and imitation of God, 12 tribes saying blessed 12 bloodlines. One of these bloodlines was the Ishmael bloodline, from which a special elite line developed alchemy, assassination techniques, and other occult practices. One bloodline was Egyptian, Celtic, Druid, from which Druidism was developed. One bloodline was in the Orient and developed Oriental magic. One lineage was from Canaan and the Canaanites. It had the name Astarte, then Astoria, then Ashtor, and then Astor. The tribe of Dan was used as a Judah Iscariot type seed. The royalty of the tribe of Dan have descended down through history as powerful satanic bloodline. The 13 or final bloodline was copied after God's royal lineage of Jesus. This was the satanic house of David with their blood, which they believe is not only from the house of David, but also from the lineage of Jesus, who they claim had a wife and children. The 13th satanic bloodline was instilled with the direct seed of Satan, so that they will not only carry Christ's blood, but also the blood of his brother Lucifer. One of the bloodlines goes back to Babylon and are descent from Nimrod down through the years. The occult world has remained hidden from the history books. Publishing and education have been controlled privileges. They have ruled behind the scenes. The mystery religions each had their secret councils which ruled them, and these councils themselves came under the guidance of a secret supreme grand counselor or governing body. The mystery religions in turn ruled the masses and the political leaders. When I first began investigating the Illuminati, a clear picture developed that the history books were doctored and that great power was concentrating in the hands of the oligarchies around the world. But who were the powerful people? I have been repeatedly asked. If there is a conspiracy, who are the conspirators? That is what this book is about. The history books are full of information about the elites and the masses. Interestingly, upon very close scrutiny and examination, um, it's 292 pages long, bro. And if you just Google up 13 royal bloodlines, it's on the CIA website, CIA.gov website. All right, bro. That was it. Little that was like part of the introduction.
Yeah, that's scary. I mean, they actually have it on the CIA website. It's our genealogy, you know, just for everybody to see if you want to know where the Antichrist is coming from. Pretty sure you can find it on the CIA website if you have an open mind.
Real quick, just so you can see it.
Yeah, share it.
I'll just hit back, and it should just take me back to Google. But yeah, it's this is the document or book. I think it's a book. I'll go to the top again. I was trying to see if it had the names, but I guess they would have changed their names multiple times by now, and plus through marriage and whatnot. So probably, we would call them the elite at this point. Come on, go to the top, buddy.
Yeah, and you go to Daniel chapter 11, which is, the remainder of the Grecian Empire that had control over Syria, making war with Egypt. And it's the whole story of the Syrian and Egyptian wars, which traces a genealogy of the Grecian Empire to, the end of those wars. And eventually that will continue through the Roman Empire, which would divide and then go over to Turkey. It makes sense. It really does. So
yeah, I just put 13 royal bloodlines on Google, and it's the third site is CIA.gov library, and you can read this book if you want. It's Bloodlines of the Illuminati by Fritz Springmeier from 1995. Seems pretty in depth, 295 pages.
It's the Matrix, man. We're plugged in right now.
But it's what I was trying to tell you earlier. Like, these people in their marry, right? So they can keep their family members all in the family kind of thing.
Yeah.
If like the King of France goes down, they could just go to England and they'll be all right because they control that too, and etc. With America or whatever, they kind of empower everywhere. And all the presidents are related. I don't know if you heard that. All the presidents of the United States have been related. So these are like Satan's puppets and kids, I guess. According to that book, it said that the 13th line was him mixed. Actually, I don't know if through a satanic ritual or what. Apparently, he was actually had a kid here, and kids, I should say, because God knows how long ago that was. Kind of was talking about like the Babylonian Empire, so with Nimrod and all that. So this could go back a long, long time. Then you got these people like Rockefeller, Rothschild, and they seem like demons. You know what I mean? Like, and you read their biographies, and they talk about how their dads were so evil to them, and they just if there's such thing as lizard people, which I don't think it's lizard people, I think it's demonic possessed people. It'll be somebody like that.
I wonder what kind of bloodline Beyonce has. They say she's like the queen of the Illuminati.
Well, I will say because obviously the people, the actual kings and queens, they're not gonna be out in the public like that. She's probably just like a front, like the real bloodline. We probably don't even know their name. These people, Bill Gates and Beyonce, and these people are just they're spokespersons. You know what I mean? They're trendsetters or whatever. But they're not going to be the actual. I don't think they're the actual people in power. They're just puppets of sorts. I was hoping for like names, bro, but he didn't really give me that. All right, I'll come back to you. Carry on, bro.
So let's give a summary of Daniel's visions real quick concerning the time frame. So it talks about 70 weeks which each day in the week represents 1 year. So you do the math, 490 years must elapse before the end of the world, before the wrath of God is poured out on this world and the kingdom of the Antichrist and the false prophet. A total of 490 years must elapse. Now, what we do know is that 483 years are totally fulfilled. 7 years are technically fulfilled, okay, but there is more to the prophecy that is yet to be fulfilled. So we have a total of 490 years that has elapsed, but the final 7 years of that is not in its complete fulfillment yet. So we have a dual prophecy here where 7 years, which has happened in the Old Testament, and that's the Roman and Jewish War. It's a total of 7 years. You could say that this has already been fulfilled. I'm pretty sure it has, but the prophecy in its entirety has not been completed. There are certain things that did not happen in those 7 years that are going to happen in the future 7 years. The prelude of those last 7 years has happened. Okay, so that's what I believe. The clock starts after the Second Temple desolation. We're still waiting for this final 7 years. We know that the Second Temple was destroyed in 70 AD. Okay, so the end of the world didn't take place. Okay, there wasn't an Antichrist that stood up and took control over all the world. He didn't set up an image. None of that happened. So we're still waiting on those 7 years to be fulfilled in their entirety. And that waiting period basically started when the temple was destroyed, because you know that there's not going to be a discontinuance of the daily sacrifice, and the Antichrist is not going to destroy the temple if the temple doesn't even exist. So there has to be a third temple. We've been waiting on a third temple. It says concerning the daily sacrifices and the transgression of desolation, the giving of both the sanctuary and the host to be trampled underfoot. He's asking, how long is this going to be? And he says, for a time, times a half a time. That's 3.5 years, which is 7 years divided. Because in the midst of the week, go back to the previous presentations and watch them, so you can get caught up on this. If not, you're probably lost already. But 7 years, you divide that. In the middle of 7 years, which is 3.5 years, the Antichrist will break a covenant that he had set up with the Jews, because they're going to be going through the temple's going to be set up. They're going to go through animal sacrifices until 3.5 years is over. And then he's going to actually break that treaty, destroy the temple, destroy the Jews. If you're a Jew that wants to survive, Jesus said that you should run to the hills. Okay, so he's going to destroy the temple, destroy all of the Jews, and then erect an image. And anybody who doesn't come and worship that image, he will destroy. He will go forth and conquer. Jesus said, when you see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place, whosoever readeth, let him understand. So if this has already been fulfilled in its entirety, well then why is Jesus referring to it as something that is going to happen in the future still yet? That's because it is still in the future. The restoration of the temple broadcasting will begin the final 7 years of human kingdoms. I believe when there's an announcement that comes on the news and says, we've made a treaty, the Jews are going to be allowed to build their temple. Okay, there's people over there right now polishing off stones in order to get this thing set up. They already have all of the instruments and all of the infrastructure of the temple. Everything is ready. They just need the permission to build. There's something called the Temple Institute, I believe is what it's called. I might have that name slightly wrong, but Temple Institute, something like that. They already have everything prepared, and they're ready to build the temple. They just need a permission. It says in Daniel 3:7, Nebuchadnezzar actually did the same thing that the Antichrist was going to do. He set up an image and he called all the nations to come and worship it. It said, at that time, when all the people heard the sound of the cornet, the flute, the harp, the sackbut, the psaltery, all kinds of music, all the people, the nations, the languages fell down and worshipped the golden image that Nebuchadnezzar had set up. And Nebuchadnezzar, so this is the idea that they had, and the same idea the Antichrist will have. The commissioners of the kingdom, the prefects, the satraps, the high officials, the governors have consulted together that the king should establish a statute and enforce an injunction that anyone who makes a petition to any god or man besides you for 30 days shall be cast into the lion's den. Okay? So the same thing with the image that Nebuchadnezzar set up. They said, if anybody doesn't come and worship the image, they should be put to death. And that's what the Antichrist is going to do. If you're a nation and you don't come to the dedication of the Antichrist image, he's going to come and destroy you. And I believe that many nations will actually not do it. And he will have to come and destroy them. They're not going to worship the Antichrist. Not because they're Christian, but because their own culture forbids them. People actually take their culture serious enough to deny, even though the Antichrist will be doing all these signs and wonders, not every culture is going to be convinced in the world, because they also have a belief that, they have another Messiah. And he's also told them, don't believe people who come around with false signs. So all kinds of religions, they're not all going to surrender, and he's going to have to force them to do so, and he will succeed, the Bible says. Jesus said, let him that is on the housetop not go down to his house, neither enter therein to take anything out of his house. When you see the Antichrist destroy the temple and set up an image, you need to go into hiding. Simply put, you want to survive the tribulation? Go hide. Okay, don't just hang around where you are, because they're going to come and destroy you. So you need to go into hiding. Not that you should be like underground with your Christianity, but you need to get away from civilization, because there's going to be a lot of war. So if they happen to find you where you are, there's no reason to be ashamed of the gospel or preaching it. But the point is, I think the Pope, they're going to, the Catholic Church, are going to establish a coexistence of all religions. They will be responsible for this, and they will also be responsible for raising up the Antichrist through the bloodline of Alexander the Great, which they maintain in the papacy, and in the royal bloodline of England, perhaps, has some of this. And so Iger already brought up, go to the CIA website and find that book. So you have, what was that book called? The Bloodline of the Illuminati?
That's what I just Googled. It's I forgot the name of it, but yeah, just the third one down is the CIA website. I did find a couple other claims for the names of the 13 royal bloodlines, and it's 1 Astor bloodline, 2 Bundy bloodline, 3 Collins bloodline, 4 DuPont bloodline, 5 Freeman bloodlines, 6 Kennedy bloodline, 7 Lee, like L-I, so it's like an Asian bloodline, 8 Onassis bloodline, 9 Reynolds bloodline, 10 Rockefeller bloodline, 11 Rothschild bloodline, 12 Russell bloodline. Jamie Russell, just kidding. 13 Van Dunn bloodline, and then it says Merovingian European royal families, the top 13 families and the Mormon leadership, Mona and the Mormon leadership, interconnected families, Disney bloodline, Krupp bloodline, and McDonald's bloodline. The name of the book, I kind of lost it right now. I was trying to see if I could get names, but so it seems like these are the most popular names. I could share, I guess, if you want to screenshot it. people, I guess people have done research on this before, and here we go. I'll share real quick. The Illuminati. But yeah, seems like a pretty consistent information on these being the 13 royal bloodlines. All right, bro.
Interesting.
Oh, we got David and we got Peter in the chat. Shout out
Yep.
to y'all, bro.
They're holding the fort in the chat box. I love it. Peter says he believes in a pre-trib. Let's see. Pre-trib rapture. Nope, it went off again. Pre-trib rapture, the signs for us in Paul's epistles is the falling away and the man of sin and perdition being revealed. Peter believes the church will be raptured and then the Antichrist will be revealed. So if we haven't seen the Antichrist revealed yet, we know that the rapture hasn't occurred. That's kind of like the thought process. But I believe what the Bible is saying is that when you see the Antichrist, then the tribulation will occur, then the rapture. Because Jesus said in at least 3 accounts of the gospel in Matthew, Mark, and Luke that it would be after the tribulation that the rapture occurs, unless that's only applying to the Jews, in which case, there's another passage in the same chapter, that says how 2 are going to be standing in the field, 1 is going to be taken, the other left. So if that chapter applies to the Christians who are going to be raptured, but then he's only talking to the Jews in the same chapter, and when he's coming and gathering them from the 4 winds of heaven, his elect, you can't have it both ways. You're cherry picking the chapter if you're going to teach a pre-trib rapture, in my opinion, but Peter's entitled to his own, and I respect it. So thanks for the comment, Peter. And I'm sure your pre-trib pals that are going to be watching this are totally digging that. But you want to share something else, Iger?
Yeah, I was a pre-tribulation person most of my life, and only because back in 2000 I saw the Left Behind movies. I read the books actually before the movies I think came out. So I read the books, and then man, they were good books, and they still are good books because they make you think about the end times anyways. And now I think a lot of people are living it because we're running out of food, we're running out of this. There's chaos everywhere, so a lot of people are kind of seeing how the end times are coming to play here. And so it's still good stuff to save people, and but yeah, I was pretty much pre-trib most of my life, and yeah, I changed my mind because I don't know, listening to debates and arguments. There's a lot of debates on the topic and a lot of arguments, and now I think it's gonna be like more like a mid-trib thing. Sometimes I even wonder if there even is a tribulation, or because that verse where it says those of us who are alive to the end, and then there's a verse also that talks about how the it's talking about the wheat and the tares, and then was a parable, but still it talks about how the master of the house tells the helpers to go gather the tares first, meaning the wheats. So maybe it's the unrighteous that get taken away, and then the righteous stay. So I don't know, man. I don't know. Actually, I was mostly a mid-tribber for like the last 5 years, but now I just start to question like if there even is a tribulation for us anyways, or if some of us get to be here till the end. I don't know, man. It's definitely a lot of stuff that I still haven't learned yet. So much to learn, so little time. I yield.
All right, I'm gonna go back to these slides. Just got to be prepared, if the pre-trib is wrong, for instance, well then you got unprepared Christians. They're not ready to deal with all of that torture. So I would think to get your doctrine by pre-trib rapture might be actually, because in the pre-trib rapture you have the imminency of Jesus Christ, so he can appear at any moment. When if the Bible actually teaches that the coming of the Antichrist will be imminent, he's going to come at any time. That's what the Bible actually teaches, I think. So any Christian who thinks that they're going to be raptured and they get left behind, because they see the Antichrist, they think they're left behind, or they actually think that the Antichrist is Jesus Christ, because that's what he's going to say. So, I mean, I think that's a dangerous position to be in. That doctrine is dangerous. It's not good. But we'll get off that. The Jews, they have to have.
I kind of agree with you on that. A lot of people might think, well, then I'll just wait till the rapture and then I'll try to get right with God in the tribulation, and that's kind of like I don't know, it could be misleading.
Yeah,
you should be ready. Yeah, like you're saying, you should prepare now for the worst, and just be ready for whatever might happen, I guess. All right, go ahead.
The Jews, they have to have a temple to sacrifice in. They don't have one now. If the Antichrist is going to discontinue the animal sacrifice, that has to be going on, and it can't be going on in the Jewish culture without a temple. So there's going to have to be a third temple, and that temple is going to be desolated by the Antichrist, and then he will set up an image. So the broken covenant that the Antichrist makes with the Jews, this agreement of peace between the Antichrist and the Jews, this is actually going to be declared by a permit to rebuild the temple. The entire treaty is going to be based off of that permit. They need a permit to build the temple, so they're going to have to come to some kind of agreement with the Islamic nations. The Antichrist will intercede for them and make this possible. But it's all a trick that the Islamic nations are playing on the Jews so they can turn around and destroy them. Oh, yeah, go ahead and build your temple. Yeah, we'll let you do it. It's actually permitted in the religion of Islam to lie, if it means that you're going to, promote the truth of Islam. You can lie. But Stage 1. The European and Islamic army will destroy the army of Israel at the destruction of that temple. And then they will erect an image. So they will surround Israel. The Bible says, where is that passage? Right here, Luke 21:20. When you shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, know that the desolation thereof is nigh. And I believe that happens at that time that the temple is destroyed. And they begin taking over the world. European and Islamic nations will have time to build a statue and make a dedication to it before I don't know, that's an old slide. So maybe we know that they're going to build a like the time frame in between them building this statue, and the time that they go and make war with all of the other nations. There's a gap there. So they build the statue, they get it all ready. They've already destroyed the Jews, and the Jews have now fled. Okay, so now they have complete control. Jews are gone, building the statue. And now what has to happen is this is a time of peace, sort of. Not for the Jews, but for the Antichrist and his people. They're partying up. And now everybody else has to come and join in on that party. Or his ego is going to get deflated and he's going to go out and destroy them. That's what it comes down to. Stage 3. Any nation that refuses to come to the dedication will be conquered. And then all citizens will receive a mark giving them permission to buy or sell. Stage 5. The army of the Antichrist will hunt for any refusing the mark and put them in prison to be held until they are tried and beheaded. The Bible says not to premeditate anything that you will say before you're brought up to be judged and to give an account or a defense. If you let the Holy Ghost speak for you, you will survive. God will deliver you. And if not, you will die. Stage 6. All found guilty will be publicly executed by beheading. I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Jesus. Guess what the Islamic method of execution is? Beheading. That's right. There are actually guillotines stations, that are in America right now. They don't use them, but they're there. I mean, they have a lot of guillotines that are set up. That's what I've heard, at least.
Yeah, I heard that too. Actually, about 10 years ago, that they bought a bunch of guillotines. And then, if you look at, our death penalty, right? If you get electrocuted, that will burn up your organs. Thinking of like, these demonic people, right? They want to live forever or whatever, so that they want to have hearts to implant themselves with. So yeah, if you electrocute somebody to death, you're gonna burn their heart, the lungs or whatever organs, blood even, because they like to do all types of stuff with blood. Nowadays, adrenochrome is pretty much mainstream media, um, where they scare kids and use their blood with this extra adrenaline in it to get high, uh, and also it keeps them looking younger or whatever. But yeah, anyway, so yeah, if you electrify somebody, they can't do that. It messes up your whole body. And then also, if you do like a lethal injection, that would also poison their body, the body of whatever. So you wouldn't be able to use the organ. So yeah, man, it's getting crazy.
Yeah. But that looks like also concentration camps in America that they don't use. It says that where is it? Scripture. At the time Michael shall stand up, the great prince which standeth for the children of thy people. There shall be a time of trouble, such as never was, since there was a nation, even to that time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, everyone that shall be written in the book. So Michael, the archangel, he's going to come down and stand on the earth while the tribulation is going on, and then deliver the people which are left on the earth, which haven't yet been executed by beheading. People that were delivered. So you can escape, you can be raptured, you can see the return of Christ. If you do what the Bible says, if you let the Holy Ghost speak for you, if you walk in the Spirit, if you're prepared for these things, or if you're a soul winner, God might have reason to keep you around. Otherwise, he might decide to remove you. It just depends on your state of mind at that time. If you're full of fear and worry, you're probably going to want to meditate what you say and speak for yourself. But if you're confident that God is in control and he will keep his promise, you will not, and you will let the Holy Ghost speak for you. So it's just going to depend on your state of mind. If you're in a calm position while you're in prison waiting on your public execution, because you know the Bible, because you're prepared, because you're full of the Holy Ghost, you can remain in a calm state, and that will actually enable you to obey the Lord. So why don't you do that? Why don't you dust off that Bible and pick it up and read it before it's too late? Because one day it will be. Daniel 12:2. Many of those who sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, and some to shame and what? Everlasting contempt. Was that temporary contempt? Everlasting contempt. Some to everlasting life, some to everlasting contempt. Jesus said it was an everlasting punishment. It says in the book of Daniel that people are going to run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. That's what we talked about in part 1, the advance of modern technology and transportation, which fuels this coming new world order. The future, if you will. Says in Daniel 12:4, God told Daniel to Shut up the word, seal the book, even to the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, knowledge shall be increased. So Daniel is told to shut the book because it's not going to be understood until many years later. In the book of Revelation, it says, make this plain. And it says, do not seal it. I think it's actually specifically says that. But what we can see in the book of Daniel, what he wasn't able to understand, we can actually understand now because these things have come to pass. The advance of technology, transportation is here. And the book of Revelation, the Bible is complete. We have all the info that we need. You know, with the internet and stuff, why are you not studying the Bible? Why are you not getting prepared for these things that are going to happen? There is a beast, that statue of a beast that looks just like the one in the book of Revelation on the front lawn of the United Nations. So you need to get your Bible and you need to read it because things are drawing near to the end. It's getting very close. Most of the world has rejected their kings. The richest people in the world are Muslim kings today, and the Jews remain dispersed for nearly 2,000 years. Today, they are recognized as a nation with Jerusalem as capital. So what do you have? Jerusalem surrounded by a whole bunch of nations that hate them and want to see them destroyed. Well, the Bible says they're actually going to get a permit to build a temple, and then it's going to be destroyed. So you can see how these things fit reality very well, okay? They didn't before. The Jews have been dispersed for nearly 2,000 years, but here they are back in Jerusalem. Think that's a coincidence? I think not. I think you need to pick that Bible up and you need to read it before it's too late for you. Okay, even if you are saved. If you don't want to get beheaded, maybe you should prepare yourself. Okay, because I definitely don't want to get my head chopped off. That'd be an honor. I'd certainly be up for it if I had to. Okay, but I don't necessarily want to take that route. I probably prefer just to get raptured. So after the division of Rome, Christianity spreads across the Middle East. The Romans lived with the natives but remained separate religiously until the rise of Islam. You know, they have a Catholic religion that whole time. So the Muslims, then they create their own religion, and that takes over the whole area after Rome has to leave, after the papacy has to leave. And the Antichrist will raise an army with the false prophet and destroy the temple for the erection of his image. That's probably what World War III is going to be about. Or World War III could happen before any of this. I mean, you really can't predict what's actually going to happen for the Jews to be allowed to build a temple. I mean, there's probably going to be like some major catastrophes and stuff. And that's the whole reason why the world would need the Antichrist figure, is because they need like a savior to deliver them from all the calamity. So it's likely World War III will erupt before that peace deal takes place. The peace deal will be a result of a major war that takes place. And then there will be another war after that, which will be the final war, at least until you get to Armageddon. So you have the war that the Antichrist makes with the world, and then he makes a war with the Christians specifically, making everybody take a mark, excluding the Christians, so that he can put them in prison. And then you have a war with the Antichrist and God himself, called the Battle of Armageddon. That concludes all the slides.
Woohoo! I kind of wanted to show that one video I showed in the first one, right? Where, I don't know if you remember it, kind of going in depth on the United Nations, how it had 10 rotating members and three like, I think the book of Revelations talks about 3 kings and 10 kings, right? But I forget exactly, but yeah, I kind of wanted to show that for like 5 minutes, maybe, just while it's talking about the United Nations, because I think we kind of see it like the devil kind of has controlled these world kingdoms, right? Like even the statue of Daniel in Daniel's dream represents it well. Like you were saying, the head is Babylon. I forget what the other part is, and you know how all these world empires basically have came across till we get to the iron and clay one, right? And then, man, most of the end time stuff I've seen, it's always been this global police or this global council or whatever. So we got the United Nations, fits perfectly with. And then after this pandemic, where the World Health Organization kind of dictated the medical rights of people across the world, this organization has a lot of power, has gained a lot of power throughout the years. But yeah, I'll just play the video for like 5 minutes while it's talking about the. I'm gonna skip the whole Statue of David part because it touches up on that too.
Dude, Walmart's during a depression scenario, like where there's a major war, that's probably where people are going to be going, like major supermarkets, just to kind of like huddle everybody in because nobody is like working, everybody's without a job, and the government's going to have to basically fork out all the cash to feed everybody because they started it. That's funny. When Joe Biden wants to just like borrow all this money and just give out all this free cash to everybody. Anybody with half a brain knows that that's not going to work. You don't just give out free checks and then expect society to function. Eventually, the money will run out, or people are at the top. They're not going to want to provide that money anymore. So, man, that's just a recipe for complete and utter disaster. That's what we're going to see too. We have a collapse of the economy, and the economy's not going to be able to function anymore. We're all going to have to go to the Walmarts, and then eventually they'll be giving us all marks.
Yeah, if we want to get our rations or whatever. They might even make you millionaires, bro. Like I was thinking about, I've heard some people say like, they're going to make this like, either you're going to participate with society or you can be basically a millionaire where, you take the mark, you can buy whatever house you want, whatever car you want. And then you have this kind of like socialism works, right? Where everybody gets income. They've been talking about that. You hear people like Elon Musk and other technocrat billionaires talking about it, where they want to put everybody on this income-based system. Everybody gets an income, right? Robots are going to be doing most of the work in this new age scenario, and they'll have whatever lower class citizens or however they do that in the future in their socialist communist one world government system. But yeah, I want to play the video for like 5 minutes, bro, and then use the bathroom and stuff real quick. Sharing my screen. Yeah. And I'll put the link to the whole video in the stream if anybody wants to watch the whole thing. It's only 11 minutes long. It has part 1 that's also like 10 minutes long, but I'll put a link and it should have a description in there. Cool channel to follow. It's called End Time Survivors. All right.
Revelation. All the merchants and shipping companies of the world have been made rich through the love of money or capital that Babylon the prostitute has represented throughout history. It's just that America is the epitome of the love of capital today. The political ideology of the whole country is described as capitalism, the love of money. This belief that greed will ultimately produce what is best for everyone is, sadly, most strongly supported by the churches of America. That is why they are so fanatical in their loyalty to Donald Trump. It has nothing to do with Trump having faith in God. It's all about their real God, money. Permanent members versus rotating members. I want to relate this concept of America being Babylon to what I said in the earlier video about the United Nations Security Council. Remember, the council has a total of 15 members, 10 rotating members, and 5 permanent members. There was some uncertainty as to whether the Antichrist subdues 3 of the 10 horns, that is, the rotating members, or whether he subdues 3 of the permanent members. I believe that uncertainty is largely cleared up in the 17th chapter of the Revelation. This verse refers to 10 horns hating the prostitute and destroying her. These 10 horns seem to be acting in unity with the beast in an effort to set up the final world government. You may recall that in Daniel chapter 2, he describes the final world government as having 10 toes, as being a mixture of strong governments and weak ones. This too seems to be referring to all 10 rotating members still being there after 3 members of the council have been subdued. All of this would strongly suggest that references to the Antichrist subduing 3 kings is about the destruction of America and the effect that it will have on the other 2 permanent democratic members of the UN Security Council. The other 2 permanent members are the United Kingdom and France. This unity among the bad guys. For the most part, both the prostitute and the beast are the same. They both relate to the inherent evil in all man-made solutions that have been proposed throughout history. But this passage talks about a deep enmity between 2 of them at some particular point in history, which results in the total destruction of the prostitute, followed by world domination for the 10 horns. 10 horns which exist on the head of the Antichrist. In many ways, this is what has happened throughout history. One head chops off the other head so that it can become the new head. So these 10 countries unite with the Antichrist in destroying the present economic center of the world so that they can, corporately, become the new champions of greed. There is a later destruction of Babylon, which God does in the famous Battle of Armageddon. That is because by that time, the new world government will have inherited the banner they took from America. They will have become the new Babylon, the new prostitute. So one Babylon is destroyed by the Antichrist, and the next Babylon is destroyed by God. The leopard. In the previous video, I also went so far as to say that the leopard represents all those other countries of the world, including France, even though there is not yet an official animal symbol for what we have often called the Third World. This leopard, or the 10 rotating representatives on the council, becomes, in the Revelation version of all these animals, the body of a world government that is controlled by the beast. This too is consistent with France, or the rooster wings, disappearing into the body of the leopard, thus leaving only 2 permanent members of the United Nations Security Council who lead the other 10 rotating members. The dragon. I should also say something more about the dragon. A leopard is used in Revelation 13 to describe the body of the beast. It says that the leopard has the mouth of a lion and the feet of a bear, but it is the dragon that gives it its power. There's no mention of either the eagle wings or the rooster wings at this time, and even the lion or mouth reference may just be saying that the final world government still addresses the world in English. What I'm suggesting is that the bear, the dragon, and the leopard corporately make up the final world government, and that the other 3 kings have been subdued by this time, which is why the eagle wings and rooster wings that appear in Daniel's prophecy are not mentioned here. In the previous chapter, the dragon is identified as the devil himself. Note that the dragon, like the beast, also has 7 heads and 10 horns. This is one reason why I've concluded that China will play a significant role in this final world government, perhaps even more significant than Russia. China may use Russia to gain control of the world, but the dragon himself seems more closely identified with China. The Antichrist or beast is seen as the personification of, or the son of, the devil, in much the same way that Jesus was the personification of, or the Son of God. So the dragon may be both a single person, that is the Antichrist, and a world power, that is China as well. This is where we're at in world history at this very moment. That beast or dragon is very close to taking control of the world. All that is necessary for this to happen is the sudden destruction of the United States, which I think is horrifyingly near. The bear and 3 ribs. Then there are the 3 ribs in the mouth of the bear. At the moment, China lacks the firepower to totally destroy America. But in alliance with Russia, such a scenario could be possible. No further mention is made of the 3 ribs in scripture, but they do seem to have come from a larger body of which Russia, the bear, is a part, thus coinciding with all other references to the Antichrist subduing 3 horns in the 15-member UN Security Council. Even with those 3 ribs missing, the body, that is the council, could still continue to function. Now, there is much more that could be said, but as I pointed out in the first video, these are concepts which require a lot of study and reflection, so I don't want to overwhelm you with too much all at once. At the same time, I feel we're so close to these prophecies actually being fulfilled that we should be trying to understand them as
All right. I'll put the link to this video in the description, in the chat. Pretty cool video. I liked it.
Yeah, that got me thinking about some things. It was talking about how the 3 of those horns will be uprooted.
Subdued.
It's
Yeah.
interesting. Because you have Alexander the Great, his empire divided into 4. 2 of those people went over to Turkey. 2 of the bases were located in Turkey. One of them was in Egypt, I believe, and the other one is Syria. So I'm thinking that one of the bloodlines that was in Turkey, okay, is going to displace the other Turkish bloodline, the Syrian bloodline, and the Egyptian. Or it could be that the Antichrist is Syrian, since Daniel 11 is talking about the king of the north being a Syrian, and that there's a lot of significance in the Syrian bloodline of kings and stuff. But it could be that when the empire divided into 4 and the one that went over to Syria, that base, carried the bloodline that would lead to the Antichrist, and so he would replace the 2 bloodlines that were in Turkey and the ones that are in Egypt, and so the Antichrist could be Syrian, and that a Syrian bloodline leading to the Antichrist is located in Turkey. That's a theory that I have. I think because the book of Revelation calls one of the churches, and all 7 churches are in modern day Turkey. That's like significant. So it says that it calls one of those churches the seed of Satan. It says that the seed of Satan is in your location. Let me bring up that verse. I think Jamie might be trying to get in here. There we go. Jamie.
I think that church has a pastor named Steven Anderson. I'm just joking. I tell you what, man. Did you like my narrative in your comment section? Did you get it?
Yeah, I love it.
Whoosh. Mom, hey, look, Mom, Podash. That was a reference to Malachi 4. Ashes under the soles of your feet. Sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's up, man?
Not a lot. I'm trying to look up this verse.
So
you know that verse in Revelation talking about the seed of Satan?
Is it Revelation? Oh, I don't know, 17, 18, or 19 or somewhere in there maybe? I'll look it up.
No. In Revelation 2 verse 13, it says,
And that's really
I know thy works, where thou dwellest, even where Satan's seat is. So
Yeah.
what church is that?
That's from Pergamum. That's
Pergamos.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, and that's where that weird altar, that Greek altar, was set up.
Yeah, the Pope like bought it or had it moved to do his weirdo stuff. With the,
Yeah, and then Obama spake on it, or he actually gave his opening speech, like when he was nominated as president. The background was set up as Pergamos, dude. It's freaking
it's
crazy,
weird.
dude.
Not a coincidence. He also quoted in his speech about the Twin Towers becoming one. He quoted from Isaiah, where is it? Like Isaiah 7 or 6, I think, where it's actually rebellion against God, when Israel was rebelling against God, and they said, we will cut down the cedars and grow sycamores and whatever in their place. We shall rebuild, or like we'll rebuild the evil stuff that we did against God, and then God tore it down, and then they said they're going to rebuild it. And then he used that in his speech to talk about rebuilding the One World Tower in place of the Twin Towers. And like there was like a cedar tree there too that like was standing, that didn't get broken like by miracle. This is really weird stuff.
Yeah. I was saying that, it's a theory that because Turkey is the seat of Satan in Revelation, and that had a lot of significance in the past with the Byzantine Empire, like they're established there, that could be the geographical location which the Antichrist comes from, but not necessarily the bloodline. Just that area is where the people that have the bloodline are going to be. That'd be like Iran, Iranian people. They're the ones that want to destroy the Jews anyways. And there's there's like hard feelings with the...
Look at this.
What was the Arabia, like United Arab Emirates, those kind of Islam Muslims, I guess, if you will, those kind of Muslims, and the Muslims that are in Iran, it's like a different kind of Islam, and so they like go back and forth and they don't like each other.
They all have flags with the colors that are mentioned too. Did you know that?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, like the countries that are surrounding Israel, that hate Israel, have a certain type of Islam is their majority, I believe, and so like all their flags have the same green, red, I forget, and the colors are like the colors of the four horsemen: green, red, white, and whatever, black. Look at it. You can see some of them there on your bottom of your thing there. The fourth column from the left to the right. So go over to the fourth column from the left to the right. And then the third one down, that moon in the middle, and it's green, and then it's red. And then the one above that's black with green, red, and white. Those are Islamic flags, Islamic countries. I think one's Iran and one's one of the other ones. And then the one from the right to the left, the fourth column on the top, I think that's one of them there with the red, black stripes and the red triangle, black, white, green, and red. That's the four colors of the horseman, isn't it?
Yeah, actually, kind of. Well, the pale horse, some people say is green. I don't know.
I find that compelling.
Why do they say the pale horse is green?
I forget, but what are the
death?
One of them has blood or something, and then one of them, I forget. But you can make a case for it. That's all. My only point. I don't think that's the primary argument for who the Antichrist is, to be honest. But I find that sort of thing kind of compelling. They happen to be around Israel, hate Israel, and their colors are all on the flag. I mean, how does that happen?
I don't know.
Strange.
Well, it was made by the Vatican. Wasn't Islam made by the Vatican? Isn't that the thing? And they're the Antichrist to begin with, so they would have picked the devil's colors.
I actually think there could be like a dual fulfillment going on. Even scholars in my tradition, SDA tradition, some of the more recent scholars have written of an Islamic connection to prophecy in Revelation, but and they're pretty committed to papacy being the primary Antichrist. But there could be a literal interpretation of the timeline, because Adventists believe that it's a historic method, so there is still future stuff. Obviously, it's like a very small partial preterism, but I think that's just undeniable, that part of it. But some Adventists that say that, like, maybe the time periods, the 1260 days, all that, the 3.5 years, there could be a literal. The problem with that being literal, though, is that the Jews, even from the first century, from Daniel's time to the first century, from the first century till today, they've never actually used a literal 360-day year calendar, and they never have a single year that is actually 360 days. So if you make that literal, it's really hard to make sense of it, because that a year, 3.5 years, is not 1260 days ever. There's no, the way their calendar is, it's never that actual amount of days. And so if it's the 3.5 years is 1260 days, it doesn't, and then you're like considering it to be literal days, it doesn't make a lot of sense. That's something I can't make sense of. But maybe it's just doesn't matter, I guess. But is it 3.5 years or is it 1260 days? It can't be both.
Well, how many days are in 3.5 years using whatever Hebrew calendar that
it fluctuates? So, like, because they add that extra month every 13 out of 9, or every 12 out of 9.
Yeah, that's why in the book of Daniel it reads 1290 instead of 260, because it's adding that extra month, accounting for the Hebrew calendar.
Well, I think that's a separate time period, but that's an interesting point, because if you don't say that was something that happened in history or in the past, then yeah. But there's nothing is there anything in Daniel about the 1290? I don't think there is. Is there? I mean, in Revelation.
Yeah, because the book of Daniel says 1290.
Right. But I mean, it doesn't re-mention it in Revelation, though, does it?
No, because it says 1260 in Revelation.
Which is actually, which is 3.5 years.
But it's the same thing. It's talking about the same thing.
Well, it's 3.5 years is if you were to use a literal 30-day, 12-month year, would be 3.5 years would be 1260. And the 1290, would be an extra month. But I'm not sure that you could get 1290 by adding a month to any one of their periods of time, because it's a really weird fluctuation with the way their calendar works. It's like it'll fluctuate like 11 days earlier the next year, and then it'll be like, I forget, like 10 or 8 or 9 days later the next year, and it kind of pendulates back and forth around a date. If you make a pinpointed, like if you say, okay, I'm going to start with this year, it's on this day on the regular our new calendar, right? That's more accurate. And then you look at what the next year is, it'll be like 11 days sooner on our calendar. And then it'll be like 9 days later the next year. And it's like that, it's like 354 days. And then it's like 300, I forget, 65 or whatever.
Well, maybe today, but the Bible is using the calendar they were using in the Old Testament, which you could predict.
They've been using this calendar method since the time of Daniel, where they add a 13th month. We know that. I've been researching it. I'm telling you, like, they've always added the extra month like this.
You have no idea what you're talking about, though, if you're saying that it's just like constantly fluctuating, because in the Old Testament it says the 12th day of the month, and it gives a name for each month, and it's giving a specific time, and you have to come to these festivals on that specific day for this specific amount of time. So it has to be consistent in order to keep the tradition and follow God's command.
Well, like I said, it fluctuates a little bit backwards, and then the next year would be a little bit forwards if you're comparing it to our regular calendar. But the reason it works is because that actually keeps them on, so that their holidays fall within the seasons accurately. It never fluctuates more than 11 days earlier or like 10 days later, and that's why it worked. And so you can actually count real solar years. That's why it was called a luni solar calendar, because it kept, so we can actually count years with their calendar, and it will stay on the years. It just doesn't stay on the exact dates within a more accurate year, like on our calendar. That's what I'm saying. But it does keep them accurate year to year. That's why it worked. So that's my point. That's the issue with so like, it probably was 360-day years. We don't know for sure, like before the flood maybe, or like way back. Because like, why else would they have this calendar like that? Like, especially if God gave it to them. But so it's tricky. It's hard to figure, but I have been studying it. I'm telling you, like, I only mean it fluctuates on compared to our more accurate calendar. For them, it was just the same day of the month, because it was month to month that mattered, right? Because of the new moons. So to them, it kept them on track with the moons month to month, and then adding the month kept them accurate within from year to year. It's really complicated, but I'm telling you, I've studied it. Just look up. You can look up how that worked, and the scholarship is clear. Like no one disagrees. Like it's for sure that they used it. We just don't know how they were using it before the year 200 AD because we don't know what is a 19-year cycle that they did 12 out of the 19 years they add a 13th month. We just don't know how the cycle went before, for some reason, because of record keeping or whatever, before the year 200 AD. Anything before that, we don't know which of the 19 years had the 13th month added. So we can't be sure, like in comparison to our calendar, like for sure how the calendar went according to ours before that. So it's tricky. Some people think that we do know because the Jews claim that they've done it the same way the whole time, but there's no proof of it. And so some people will try to tell you that they know, but that's just in comparison to our calendar for figuring out what date it actually was, to figure out what day of the week it was. So that's why there's they can't be sure what year Jesus died for sure, but they know it's probably 30 or 31 or 33, almost for sure. But some people say, no, we know it can only be 30 or 33 because they think they know how they were adding the months, but there really is no proof, as far as I can tell from my research. And I've never researched something more carefully, but that's just what I think, whatever.
Hey, who do you think the Antichrist is going to be? Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Donald Trump, Obama?
It has to be the Pope because of the way Daniel goes. So I think the King of the North, I think Daniel 7, 8, and 11 are all talking about the same prophetic person. So I think the King of the North is the little horn, which is the same person in Daniel 8 or 7 and stuff. And there may, I don't think Antiochus Epiphanes is a type necessarily. I think it's literally because it's complicated. I don't want to bog you down, so I'll just say that.
No, that's what we're talking about today, like end times, Antichrist stuff.
Well, historically speaking, the little horn comes up out of Rome, and and if you look at the other prophecies, like it shows when the papal Rome got Rome from the pagan Rome, and so that's the little horn. And then when you understand the correlation between Daniel 7, 8, and 11, the little horn is the King of the North, which is when pagan Rome gave the papacy Rome over to the papacy. And so the little horn under that system, so we know Daniel 7 and 8, that's the same person. And then we know that Daniel 11, the King of the North, has the same attributes as the one in Daniel 7, I think. And then so they're all three the same. So that would mean it's a future pope, it would seem to me. But
Yeah, definitely. It's just like it only goes so far, once the Ottoman Empire and that whole divide takes place, like it gets really confusing because totally new system is set up. The empire is just goes back to Italy, so it's not even. I think that's where the bloodline has to be.
Yeah, it could be.
There. I don't think that it can.
Where the Pope came from, right? Because popes come from all countries that have Catholic churches in them, so it could be that too, or there could be something else going on there. I agree. But the thing I would say to just check out, just to be aware of it, is because almost all Protestants, Baptists, everybody, during the time the Reformation was happening, almost everybody thought that the reason all the Protestants were pointing to the Pope is because they actually saw the 1260 days and the 1335 and all those times, at the end of Daniel 12 that are mentioned, where they looked at it all these are prophetic, symbolic days, like Daniel 70 weeks are days, the days are like a year if you take 77 as weeks, and so they took them because the way Daniel's 70 week is attached to those prophecies, and that those days were years, prophetically, they just took a consistent understanding that because like I was describing, the actual days in a year for the Jews was not 360. They kind of said, well, we know Daniel's 70 weeks are days equal a year. So they took any time, because all those time periods also are are mentioned first within like highly symbolic language, right? Like the animals and stuff. And so like everything is symbolic there. They knew that no years actually had that amount of days in it. And so so they took it as like a symbolic day for a year, just like Daniel's 70 weeks. So that's pretty consistent. And then they like noticed all these things that like with the papacy that happened historically, not to reject that there's any future fulfillment from from Revelation, but that like where Daniel 7 lines up with Revelation 13, from that, from Revelation 13 on is future kind of thing, not totally, but for the most part. And because that's within symbolic language in that part of the narrative of Daniel, it's like, well, these are symbolic numbers. You can also look to, last thing I'll say is that, so that's really, I think that's rather convincing and consistent because it still doesn't deny the future stuff. We can actually line it up with dates. I could show you that sometime. But the other thing is, it's kind of loose though. That's the thing. Like, there's no like obvious like flag in history, right? Some of the dates are a little sketchy, but like the papacy taking over like historically from like the 10 tribes or whatever, like the barbarians. Yeah. So the I was just gonna say the last thing I was gonna say was
Sorry about that.
the what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, so the days, so like I said, that's all sandwiched within everything else is symbolic. So since the years don't have that many literal days in it, why wouldn't we think these are symbolic? Because Daniel's 70 weeks are too. But then the other thing about that is, if you look at other verses when it's talking about literal time, they actually render it different in Hebrew. Like it'll say 3 years and 6 months, but when it says, but these time periods are like just all days, right? So they take that as another sign that it's a day for a year, basically. There you go. Okay, let's see it.
I don't, just random video. I Googled the Pope is the Antichrist.
It
just,
says negative 100% proof.
Did it say that? Hold on, let's see.
I don't know why. Yeah, negative.
It does say negative.
My fellow prophecy student, greetings.
Oh wait, there's another negative on the other end of proof. So it's just
what about like, how is an Islamic leader going to claim to be God? Like an Islamic person would never do that. Only the Pope seems to be able to be someone who would claim to be in the place of God.
For sure, they are in the place of God, bro. I agree with you on that. And then some of the obvious things, it's like, every president, just about every world leader goes to Rome, pays homage to the Pope. Plus all the secret societies come from there. You got the Knights Templar, became Freemasons, Jesuits, Knights of Malta, the council, what do they call that? It's like a Roman, some type of Roman club that's like an elitist type of club too. So there's a lot of signs pointing to like the Vatican being behind all these world powers.
Yeah, so he'll be the only one that could step up and be appointed leader to all of them because he has these connections with all of them. So like, who are they going to put? Who would be a better?
Well, think of it this way. You go back to England, when the Pope was crowning the king, that's going to be the same thing. So I don't see the Antichrist as the Pope. I see the Pope crowning and giving power basically to the Antichrist.
It could be.
And I don't see him as an Islamic leader or Islamic like in genetics. Like he's not Islamic, but he is ruling and he has been chosen by a council of Islamic kings. Doesn't necessarily mean he has to be Islamic though, because we're talking about a complete culture shock, where coexistence of all religions is taking place. So what used to be Islamic is now being rapidly converted to something else, whatever this is. I don't know how it's all going to go down.
All the religions coming together into one, and then maybe like an alien or something. I think that's crazy, obviously, but it kind of could make sense. Whatever it is, it's going to be crazy, right? No matter what, because it has to be like this world, someone who's steps in as the leader of the world, and what would have to happen for that to occur, right? Something major, that scares everybody, right?
Yeah.
I don't see any other way for that to happen under any plausible circumstance. There has to be some major crap going down in the world that's like unheard of, right?
Yeah.
That.
That really is where it's at, because you don't really see any miracles until after he's already like destroyed the temple, and now he's showing himself to be God. So at that point, that's when coexistence of religion happens. But some kind of war, I would imagine, because they're not going to appoint a king over them that's not Islamic unless something crazy is happening, you know. I don't know if I could say that it's supernatural, because the supernatural things haven't happened with the timeline I'm using. But I do see it like a World War III scenario playing out before the temple is built.
Yeah, even though some of the things I said about is historic, it's still most of the same stuff you would say is future. I believe is future too. I just think some of those time periods are talking about history, like in Daniel 10, 11, and 12. I take as historic occurrences. So I don't think there's like two witnesses that literally have to come down. But I do think like, you know, the Antichrist system set up and he takes over the world and people are fooled and they start worshiping the beast and there's the mark of the beast. All that I take as future. I think like the two witnesses and like the woman in the wilderness has already occurred. Basically from Daniel 10 to 12, I think is historic, basically. And then from everything beyond that, I think is future.
Iger, what's happening on the boob tube that you have here?
I don't know, bro. Just random video I pulled up. It's the Pope, the Antichrist. I will say there was, you know, other videos next to it, like it's Obama the Antichrist, is Trump the Antichrist, is Bill Gates the Antichrist. So there's always a lot of room for speculation, but I will say I agree with Jamie. Like historically speaking, it seems like the Vatican being like.
There's a good verse there. During the fourth kingdom, the kingdom of heaven is going to be set up. So
you could say that was Jesus first coming, even though.
Yeah, but I was saying like in that presentation that the fourth kingdom, you know, is the New World Order. Some people try to say that it's Rome because that's what the image, the legs are representing as Rome. But when you look at the four beasts, it seems to be that fourth beast is actually the New World Order and not the Rome that would actually conquer Greece.
Think about this. That's true. That's very true. I don't disagree with that. But the difference would be that the fourth kingdom is Rome, and so Jesus does set up the kingdom during Roman times, right? If you just take the statue like straightforward, and everybody agrees that the fourth one's Rome. But then yes, there's the 10 kingdoms, and I don't disagree with that. But I would say that's actually historical, and so the clue is that like you see that the Antichrist fits the bill within the papacy, and so it's like saying that's identifying where the beast comes from. The Antichrist is out of Rome, which is set up in when Jesus.
No, it's coming out of Greece.
Well, that's what people say. I could go into that, but
because it says that the kingdom of heaven will be set up. Okay, the millennial reign of Christ begins while this fourth kingdom is ruling. Has to be talking about the kingdom of the Antichrist, and then the kingdom directly before that belonged to Alexander the Great.
Well, the king of I would say this. I would say the little horn is the papacy, and then that gets set up out of that same kingdom that when Jesus establishes the kingdom just like already but not yet in the first century, because there's ties between Matthew 24, you know, and what happens during his time that is also like mirroring what happens before his second coming. So it's not a denial of the future king coming out of the 10 kingdoms that come out of Rome, but it's like identifying it from the kingdom when papal Rome takes over pagan Rome, and then that's a clue like where he'll come out of at the end as well, out of the 10, like you're saying. So like I'm not totally disagreeing with it, but you know, there's like ties between Jesus' first coming and second coming. Like I would say, like in Matthew 24, he's predicting Jerusalem being destroyed in 70 AD, but he also is explaining what happens at the end of the age. So it's both. So I mean, there's a lot to go into, but I hear you. The Greece thing is interesting. We should talk about that sometime because I know a lot of people say that, but there's a different way to look at it. Maybe you can explain it to me again, like why it's Greece? Why are you saying it's Greece?
Well, because if the kingdom of heaven was not established when Rome was in control, okay, it still hasn't. They actually completely fell as an empire, and he still hasn't returned. You know, they fell
No,
a
but
long time ago.
when Jesus first, you don't think Jesus set up the kingdom when he first came?
No,
I mean, like to start with, like he established the church.
he established a church. He didn't establish a kingdom.
No, right, but I'm just saying, like
He didn't come to be king.
Rome. Why is Rome not the fourth kingdom? Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, Rome, right?
Yeah, that's the order of the images, the legs of iron, not necessarily the beasts, though.
But when does the little horn rise? Is out of Rome, doesn't it? Isn't that the fourth kingdom?
Rises out of Greece.
How is Greece the fourth kingdom, though?
Greece isn't the fourth kingdom; it's the third.
Didn't that thing just show that it's the little horn rises out of the fourth kingdom? Isn't that true?
Yeah, this is a random video I'm playing.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I thought you were defending what was on the screen.
You brought up the Pope, it's the Antichrist, and then it just kind of, you know, and like you're saying, probably most people think like this, right? That looked into it because
yeah, it's like saying the Antichrist rises out of Rome, so like that's why they say it's the papacy and the Protestant Reformation because they were taking the same view I'm saying, like, but not they knew he wasn't the final Antichrist, but it was like a type.
I never heard that Rome was divided into 10 European kingdoms, but that kind of makes sense.
Well, it's divided into, or Greece is divided into 4, right? 2, like 4 horns. The one horn and the goat beats. The goat is Greece, which defeats Medo-Persia, which is the ram with 2 horns. And then the one prominent horn on the goat is Alexander the Great, and then 4 more horns come up after he gets taken out when he dies, and that's the Seleucid, all those 4 kingdoms that Greece is divided into, and then and then those become the Roman Empire, defeated by Rome or whatever it is. I forget how that goes, but and then Rome's divided into 10 kingdoms, and then I'd say historically there's ties to. Sorry, I can't hear you very well.
It's okay. But no, it kind of makes sense. Like, you got France, you got the UK, you got all these countries that came to be about after Rome fell. And now they're kind of all getting back together with the United Nations. That was it.
Yeah, if you go to the book of Daniel, let me see it. I'll just try to find it right now. It's not. Fortunately, the book of Daniel is extremely short, so super easy to navigate.
I started doing some series on it, but nobody watched it, so I stopped. But I got to review the argument for the whole thing with the little horn coming out of Greece or Rome, and I got to review that again. I forget how that goes, but I know that a lot of people are a majority or something. I don't even remember, but people will say it's Greece. But I think the historic view takes a different route with that one part there, where with the 4 winds or whatever and all that. I got to look at it again, so I can't say much about it. I can't defend it, in other words. I don't remember. You filthy Baptist.
What is it?
You froze. Oh, it's probably no, I'm sorry. I'm being a spurg because I'm whining. I just want people to love me, man. Can't we be friends? I'll believe the flat earth.
Make sure. Yeah. Oh, man, I don't know.
Oh, Jamie left.
Daniel 8, Daniel chapter 8, verse 8. The he-goat waxed very great when he was strong. The great horn was broken, for it came out 4 notable ones toward the 4 winds of heaven. Out of them came forth the little horn, which waxed exceeding great toward the south, toward the east, toward the pleasant land, waxed great, even the host of heaven. So here we go. That's the Antichrist coming directly from the division of the four horns. And that conclusively proves that Alexander the Great spawned the Antichrist himself, just over a long period of time, not directly. I think it's pretty compelling to me. I don't know. Why did Jamie leave? Where'd he go?
I don't know, bro. It's like we froze for a second there, or something happened with the connection, and I think he left. I kind of see his point, bro. Like after the Roman Empire fell, got divided to 10 kingdoms, and then the little horn was the Vatican, and I hold to the Vatican being like the center of the Antichrist. I kind of see the Vatican being like the first beast. You know how the first beast gives power to a second beast. The second beast being like the United Nations, and the Vatican being like the first beast of Revelation. It's kind of how I see it. So I kind of agree with Jamie and some stuff.
Yeah.
Come back, Jamie. Come back.
I don't know. He was talking about something. He was like, I don't know what he was saying at the end there. Spouted off a couple of things and then just dropped, I guess. I'm welcome to all views. I can't say that I won't diss you, though. If I think they sound ridiculous, I'll definitely do that. It's all in good sportsmanship, though. Because
yeah,
if you can't take a joke, that's on you.
But no, it's like you froze for a second there, and then he kind of just went on a little rant, and then he left. But I agree with a lot of what Jamie Russell says, anyways.
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
I like his viewpoint, bro. I like his viewpoint. Makes me think. Makes me think. So when he was going into the calendar there too, that was kind of interesting. Because I like. And then when he said something about before the flood, maybe there was less days before the flood. That would kind of make sense, if especially my worldview where you think you live on a little island per se. If the elevation to the ceiling was different, then it might affect. Would it affect it? I don't know, man. I don't know, but maybe there was a couple less days before the flood. I know the oxygen used to be different before the flood. So who knows? Maybe there was a few extra less days or more days or whatever after the flood.
Yeah, I definitely believe there were. That's an interesting subject. It starts with East 90 Ridge. Go to location that's directly under the Himalayan mountains, far out in the Indian Ocean. And it looks just like the Mid-Oceanic Ridge, which is the world's largest mountain range, wraps around the entire world. Well, there's a section of it that cuts off, goes live, directly under the Himalayan mountains, and that's a rip in the earth. It actually opened up in catastrophic plate tectonics or hydroplate theory would say the mantle under the crust is rapidly, it's coming up from under the crust. Now, why is it doing it under the Himalayan mountains, though, and not following the normal path of the Mid-Oceanic Ridge? It's like a side brand, like kind of all left to itself. So it's just a big gash in the middle of the ocean there. For some reason, there was pressure relieved, from that portion of the Earth's crust. The oceanic crust ripped open in that area. This is what I think happened. The Earth, as the floodwaters are receding and the modern mountain ranges are forming, the mid-oceanic ridge is forming, so the mantle comes up from under the crust, pushes the crust out. The you push a rug up against the wall, it's going to buckle, fold, compress. So that's what's happening here. And when this occurs, the modern mountain ranges form. The largest one being the Himalayan mountains, where you go and if you are brave enough and you're willing to die, go to try to climb Mount Everest and get that view. It's like the tallest mountain in the world. Those mountains are huge, and when they were actually formed, Iger, just bear with me. When they were formed, because the Earth rotates, when the Himalayan mountains were formed, this created centrifugal force, which was too much for the Earth's crust to bear, and so it ruptured, like the crust ruptured from the fountains of the Great Deep. But over here, under the Himalayan mountains, it was the result of the mountains being formed. Okay, which is like if you go to the carnival, and sometimes they have the chain swings, okay, which are all like connected to this spinning thing at the top. It just spins you around. It's just like a normal swing set. Okay, they're like twirling around. So if you get that going really, really, really fast, so fast that it actually causes the swings to just break off and fly, that'd be possible if you get it to go fast enough. So it's kind of what's happening here, is that there's too much weight on the Earth's crust, and so it has to give in some place or another. And so that was the point of least resistance, where the Earth ruptured and that East 90 Ridge was formed. And when this happened, okay, all that to say this: the Earth's rotation slowed. And so now we have additional days in a year, whereas before it used to be 360. So what I meant to say is that I meant to say it slowed. So it either slowed down or sped up. If there's 364 days now and there were 360, well then it has to be speeding up. So theoretically, if you speed up the rotation of the Earth at that point, then because if you spin around like ballerinas do, they spin around and then they pull their arms in to their chest, and that actually increases the spin. So what would cause the rotation of the Earth to spin up is if something in the core is actually growing. There's mass being added to the center of gravity, and that would increase the spin. That's huge slabs of rock are currently under the trenches right now, which are along basically all the edges of all the continents. These giant trenches, they'd be the leading wonders of the world if they weren't covered by water. They're just huge holes in the Earth, these canyons in between the continental crust and the oceanic crust. And this is where the oceanic crust plowed underneath the continental crust. There are huge slabs of cold rock underneath them that can be detected with ground-penetrating radar, showing that this was a catastrophic event of a lot of material from the crust being pulled into the core of the Earth.
I'll counter real quick just by saying I kind of hold to the idea that there's a vortex at the North Pole, right? Kind of like if you look up a torus field, a magnetic torus field around the Earth, I would say there's like a little whirlpool at the center that kind of connects the bottomless pit and the rotation of the stars kind of together. The rotations of the ether is a better way to put it. The waters above and waters below. It all plays with this magnetic field we got going on, but I don't want to get into a flat Earth debate today. So I'm just gonna leave it at that I would explain it just by saying the ether might have changed speeds or something after the flood, as opposed to the Earth spinning differently. It's just the ether itself moved at a different rate. If that makes sense, or cause you've seen I've showed you that before, right? Where there's like a whirlpool at the middle of the Earth.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I would just explain a little bit different, but I see your point. Just my
Yeah,
center of gravity is a little bit different than yours. It's not like the center of the Earth that pulls
it's totally different.
but it's not. There's still like a whirlpool type of magnetic force at the center of the Earth that actually probably even causes the tides, and that's why we don't have tides on lakes. But we'll talk about that next Wednesday if you want. We can have our flat Earth debate. It's getting late.
Yeah. But anyway, if you if this is possible for the mantle to rapidly rise, well, if it starts in the mid-Atlantic, the mid-Atlantic ridge, if that's where it started, the mantle rising and that much of it in that location will pull on the other side of the Earth. If the Earth is a sphere, just theoretically, it would pull on the other side, and that would explain why the Pacific Ocean is a huge deflation. It's a cusp shape, and then the ring of fire surrounds that. The most volcanically active region in the world is along that line. Okay, makes like a U shape, sort of a U shape. So if you deflate a ping pong ball with your thumb, it'll make that same shape, which the Pacific Ocean has, indicating it was deflated. There was a lot of material, okay, that was pulled up into the core of the Earth when the mantle catastrophically ruptured, through the crust of the Earth in the Atlantic Ocean. What would be today the Atlantic Ocean in that area. And then, so increasing the mass to the center of gravity, the Earth, all of that, basically the material on the Pacific side, being pulled into the core of the Earth because the liquid magma is now circulating. With the rising mantle, that's creating a shearing effect. So the inner core is like expanding, and this allows more material it's more material entering is why it's expanding. But another reason is because there's being pressure relieved from above. So this would increase weight in the middle of the Earth. That would generate a faster rate, like a faster spin rate. And so we'd have more days on the calendar. Every ancient, culture, like they have 360 days to their years. Or most of them, anyways. I wouldn't say everyone. There are a lot of them, and they're significant, like Egyptians and Chinese. So 360 days, that's 360 degrees. Okay, you turn around in a circle, 360, that's perfect, geometry. That makes sense that we'd have 360 days. Like we spin once every day, 360 times. If you spin one time, that's 360 degrees. So if the Earth spins once a day, and it does that 360 times, that is perfect geometry to signify 360-day year. The only reason we'd have more than 360 days is if something's wrong with the spin. So, I don't know. Consider it. Keep it secret. Keep it safe. Or go and spread it. It's your choice. The choice is yours, people.
All right, bro. I'm about ready to wrap it up, and we could do a flat Earth debate. Or you have something for next Wednesday yet, or not?
Yeah, we're doing the second part of the creation seminar on giants.
Oh, okay. Let's do that. I'm down for that. Nephilim time. Nephilim, do you? You don't hold to fallen angels coming down, mating with mankind, creating giants and Nephilim and stuff. You think it was like
no? Yeah, I distinguish the two. I just think they're giants. When people say Nephilim, that's what they're talking about. Like Book of Enoch, 300-foot giant, fallen angels. I don't believe in that, but I do believe in giants. So,
right, but you think it's how did they came about? How did these giants come to be about? Do you hold to like it was the fallen angels that made it with mankind that made the giants, or? Do you think it was just
When it says that the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men and bare children unto them, and the same became men of renown, that verse?
yeah?
Well,
I heard people
talking
say
about
like the line of Cain or something like along those lines. So, but I kind of hold to like it was the fallen angels that made it with mankind, and the ones that the Book of Enoch talks about, um, the Watchers, the 200 Watchers that rebelled against God.
yeah. I think that it was just saved people, okay, like believers, followers of God before the flood, that are marrying unsaved daughters. So it's a different culture. It's just people that understand the Lord and they understand what they're supposed to be doing. They're living clean lives, but kind of like the children of Israel, they went over to the Canaanites. They just kind of choose whoever they will because no one's telling them not to. We're in the book of like Judges when there isn't any kings. What's kind of happening before the flood? There's like not any kings or anything. So you just take who you want. The sons of God saved individuals. Every time you look up the word son of God in the Bible, guess what you're going to find? A believer. You're not going to find an angel. Not one of the times that it's mentioned will you ever find an angel. It actually says in the book of Hebrews that when was it ever said to one of the angels, "Thou art my son, this day have I begotten thee"? Are not angels just ministers, and servants, like flames? Yeah, it calls the angels a little lesser than men because we're the sons of God. They're not. Nowhere does it say they are. That's the biggest problem that I have with it.
Right, but that's because you don't believe the Book of Enoch is historical or whatever.
Yeah, then the Bible would just be a great contradiction at that point.
All right. Well, yeah. If you want to close it out, bro, I got the perfect song. It's from Destiny Lab, and it's they just put it up not too long ago. And
My phone's going crazy right now. I don't know what's happening. I might have to drop out real quick. Hold on.
oh wait, before you leave.
Yeah, hold on. It's okay. There we go. I'm back.
Or all right, just say closing statements real quick then, and then I'm looking for this song. It was not too long ago. I don't see it.
That concludes the series, the interpreting Revelations, discovering the rise and fall of the New World Order under the Antichrist and the false prophet. Go back and watch all of these. Think about them. Like, share, subscribe. I hope it's been a blessing. Thanks everybody for tuning in. David Hook, you're awesome. Come back. Peter, Jamie, thanks for joining. Of course, Iger, the famous co-host of Christopher Sylvia's channel. Stay blessed, and God bless America. Iger.
Bro. Yeah, God bless y'all. Jesus loves you, and I hope to see you soon. Share my screen, Chris, and I'll see you next Wednesday. I'll probably see you before that. But yeah, this is Destiny Lab, and it's from a year ago. It's called Fee Fi Fo Fum, the name of the song by Destiny Lab. Here it goes. We'll talk about it next Wednesday. Oh, good thing it's muted. We got a commercial. I can't see how many minutes long. It's only like 4 minutes long, so I'll let it play out. Suck.
civilization, Babylonian kings in ancient Mesopotamia. Research inscriptions and read translations, the myths and legends, what's fact from fiction. Depictions of giants who ruled the land, the rows of teeth and six-fingered hands. The men of renown before the flood, where the angels fell to pollute the blood. They mingled the seed with both man and beast, and besieged the whole world with these circus freaks. They were drowned in the deluge, but once deceased, they became demon beings to corrupt beliefs. The basis of myths, these strange relations, the gods of the Greeks and the ancient pagans. They worship the sun and the moon and stars, and channel these spirits like avatars. From the Nephilim bloodlines from the fallen ones, the ancient hybrids and redhead giants have now returned like a deadly virus. From the Nephilim bloodlines from the fallen ones, the ancient hybrids and redhead giants have now returned like a deadly virus. Nimrod was the first after the flood to build the tower of bricks made of straw and mud. Exalted himself to reach the heavens, to be like God through self-ascension. Enchanted through mystical tricks and antics. He practiced witchcraft, the blackest magic, communed with the darkest depths of the abyss, like elites and occultists within our midst. Enlisting dark spirits they know exist, and repeating perversions they can't resist. To be their own god, the first lion schism, the Luciferian definition, a false pantheon of apotheosis, the Uberman, Nirvana Gnosis, presented and channeled in pantomime, through the mantis, the grays, and the serpentine. From the Nephilim bloodlines from the fallen ones, the ancient hybrids and redhead giants have now returned like a deadly virus. From the Nephilim bloodlines from the fallen ones, the ancient hybrids and redhead giants have now returned like a deadly virus. From the start of time until the end of days, there's no secrets to find or mysterious ways, hidden in plain sight right up in our faces. Romans 1:22 repeated through the ages. Professing to be wise, they became as fools. Worship idols made with their human tools. Few science mixed with the mystery schools to manipulate DNA molecules. First fallen angels bred with human beings, then they were fairies and elves and changelings. Next we had alien grays abducting, now the new disguises inside our machines. These demons of old are well acquainted, back from the days when the blood was tainted. Invaded the earth like space invaders to corrupt the blood of our coming savior. From the Nephilim bloodlines from the fallen ones, the ancient hybrids and redhead giants have now returned like a deadly virus. From the Nephilim bloodlines from the fallen ones, the ancient hybrids and redhead giants have now returned like a deadly virus.